Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips. This video is brought to you by Wellness Forum Health, the Wellness Forum Institute, and the Wellness Forum Foundation. So, first of all, I want to remind everybody about the new format for this year. I send out the health newsletter on Monday. Health news is on Tuesday via video, what you're watching right now. Healthcare professionals newsletter goes out on Wednesday, and then on Thursday is public health commentary. So, four things being emailed a week. And if you are not a subscriber to all of those things and you'd like to be, you can send me an email at pampopper@msn.com. Now, just a quick announcement. I'm holding a free class for health professionals tomorrow, Wednesday, January 10th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We're going to talk about our now launched independent healthcare system, some practice tips, marketing tips, behavioral change tips, etc. So if you want to take this class, it's free. Just send me an email, again, pampopper@msn.com. So I'm going to cover three topics today. And the first one concerns diet and multiple sclerosis. A new study, brand new study, concluded that a low-fat diet improves fatigue for patients with multiple sclerosis. 39 patients with MS were randomized to eat a diet with 20% of calories from fat or to a waitlist control group. The dietary intervention group received 2 weeks of nutrition counseling before adopting a 12-week low-fat diet. The dietary intervention group decreased their calorie intake by an average of 11% during the study period. So their calorie intake went down and their fat intake went down considerably. By the end of the study period, the intervention group had experienced significant improvement in fatigue levels while the control group remained unchanged. The researchers concluded that a low-fat diet reduces fatigue significantly for MS patients. Now, the researchers were very forthcoming in saying that the results should be interpreted with caution because of many things like the small number of participants and the relatively short follow-up time. However, the study does confirm what Roy Swank discovered several decades ago while working with a few thousand MS patients over a long period of time. In his initial group of 144 patients, those who lowered their saturated fat intake experienced a 95% reduction in symptoms and remained stable during 16 years of follow-up. At the end of 30 years, with a much larger group than that initial group, patients consuming a low saturated fat diet remained normal or only mildly disabled, and only 5% of them had died, while 80% of the patients consuming a higher saturated fat diet died of multiple sclerosis during the same time period. We at Wellness Forum have worked with hundreds of MS patients and thousands of autoimmune patients during the almost last 3 decades we've been in business. And fat intake definitely makes a difference, not just with autoimmune and multiple sclerosis, but also with several other conditions as well. But by itself, I don't recommend fat reduction by itself. I think that there are many other things that need to be addressed for multiple sclerosis patients and others, and those would include looking at the totality of the dietary pattern. You can eat a low-fat diet that isn't very high quality. Repairing the microbiome, which has a great influence on immunity, stress levels, hormones, and those would just be a few that I would name that you should pay attention to. But I think the take-home point is that diet matters, fat intake matters a lot, and we unfortunately have a lot of people recommending, a lot of health professionals recommending high-fat diets for people without really understanding the consequences, in my opinion. And the good news in all of this is that autoimmune diseases, like other chronic degenerative diseases, can be stopped and sometimes even reversed with the right strategies, including change to a better diet. All right, just a couple more announcements. I'm teaching my really popular time management course this Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. I usually only teach it as part of our health professionals development program. So I've been asked by so many people, I said, okay, I will do it separately. Now, one of the reasons this is important, in my opinion, is that one of the most important, or common, I should say, reasons people give me for not changing their diet habits is they don't think they have time. And believe me, they really do. You really do. And it's not just diet and lifestyle change. People say, I'm going to write a book and I don't have time, or I'd like to, start a business, but I don't have time. And, not having time is a common response to an invitation to do something or the thought of venturing out and doing something different, right? So everybody really does have enough time, and I'm going to show you how. We'll record it in case you can't join us live, but I hope you will. So I think we're going to have a great discussion about all of this. And speaking of Saturday, the next free tour of Wellness Forum resources and Q&A, general health Q&A with me, is also on Saturday. So you could sign up for that and then take the time management class. And then you could spend all of Saturday afternoon with me, and wouldn't that just be the bee's knees, right? Well, I'd like to think that I'm entertaining enough that that would actually be something you'd consider doing. So once again, if you have some interest in that, just send me an email. I'm happy to send you details, or you can call the office to sign up. All right, second topic. I welcome response to information I put out, and I do answer like almost all of my emails. I really try to be diligent about that. If somebody takes the time to write to me about something, I do want to be respectful and respond. And sometimes people write to me and they tell me they disagree with me, and that's fine. I welcome disagreement as well. I think that's part of being a public figure, and I also think it's part of how we move things forward. So anyway, last year, you might remember I put out a video about the potential harms that can come from supplements and how some of them are really pretty useless. And a person writes to me, and I'll just read what this individual writes. Quote, I disagree wholeheartedly about your episode. You never mentioned the difference between synthetic vitamins and minerals and natural vitamins and minerals. And then she goes on to talk about all the nutrients that are in plant foods. And we're in total disagreement or agreement on those particular things. That's not where the problem is. But, she writes about plant foods having, thousands of constituents and all that sort of thing. And she said, you mentioned nothing about herbs and plants. You mentioned nothing about where the supplements come from, natural sources or from labs that only create synthetics. I'm sorry, but I'm going to stop listening to you, this individual writes. The U.S. Preventive Services Task Force is still U.S., and you didn't mention who hired the task force and who edited their findings and who paid for the work. How can you depart so far from all that you've been saying for the last 4 years? So I'm going to tell you, or I'm going to share with you some of what I wrote back to her, because I think it's an important thing to respond to this kind of thing. So actually, I haven't been saying what I've been saying for the last 4 years. I've been saying it for almost 28 years. Hard to believe I've been in business almost 3 decades now. That's a long time. But I wrote back, I said, thank you for writing. First, check out the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force. This agency is not a pawn of the government or industry and has advised against practices like population screening for most cancers and many drugs and procedures. The task force has been threatened by Congress with reductions in funding for its stance on many common medical practices, including PSA testing as a screening tool for prostate cancer for men. Also, check a little further into supplements. There are none that are natural. From food source means that a nutrient is taken from a food, then subjected to several chemical processes in order to make something that's chemically identical to, for example, something like vitamin C. And one of the reasons this has to be done is if all plant food that was grown on the planet was sent to manufacturing facilities to extract nutrients to turn into supplements, there wouldn't be enough plant food to make that happen. And then, of course, you'd have the problem of what the heck are people going to eat, right? So there are no truly natural supplements. So I'm going to describe how vitamin C is made, for example, and can still carry the claim from food source, all right? So the process starts with commercially made sorbitol, a sugar alcohol made from fruit, corn, and seaweed. This is where the from food source claim comes from. Fermentation with bacteria turns sorbitol into sorbose, and then another fermentation step turns sorbose into 2-ketogenic acid. And then that is treated with hydrochloric acid to form crude ascorbic acid, which is filtered, purified, and milled into a fine white powder to be put in pills or added to cereal. And so what you end up with is a substance that looks like vitamin C from a molecular standpoint, but it is about as far away as you can get from eating an orange or a serving of spinach, right? So, and this is just the way it is. There's no possible way to extract enough nutrients from plants to put into pills to fuel the demand, or to meet the demand, I should say, for supplements in the marketplace. As for the statement in the email about herbs and plants, I've been telling people for almost 28 years now to eat whole plant foods instead of taking supplements. I mean, that was part of the point. And then I wrote to this person, and I think this is really important for all of us to think about. I wrote, last but not least, I ask you to consider your apparent decision to shut off notifications from anyone who you don't agree with. How will you ever learn anything? And isn't this the behavior from the medical establishment that we all find a little offensive? If your stance is that you already know it all and there's no room for discovery or consideration of any other view than your own, well, I think that's kind of sad. I welcome your contrary view, and I mentioned that I would respond with references after the new year when we got back to regular broadcasts and newsletters. And to that point, a referenced version of the broadcast that I put out last year about the task force's findings on supplements was in yesterday's newsletter. So if you're a subscriber, you already got that, probably read it. At least I hope you did. And if you're not a subscriber and you'd like to be, then just send us an email. We'll add you to the subscriber list. I put out a newsletter most Mondays, except for holidays. I put out a newsletter on some health-related topic. Now, a couple of announcements. First of all, virtual yoga starts in February. I, as some of you know, was in a pretty serious car accident many decades ago, and how I recovered my health so that I could run marathons. I take no drugs. I've had no surgeries, etc., is from this particular type of yoga. I teach it virtually. There are 4 classes and a private class, and you get access to and audio dialogue and videos online and all that sort of thing. So I've got a class coming up. And then the Diet and Lifestyle Intervention course starts on January 24th. It's offered through the Wellness Forum Institute. It's a course that was designed for health professionals, and hundreds and hundreds, well, a couple thousand health professionals have taken it since we introduced it in 2009. But you can take it as a consumer as well. There are 15 modules, covers cancer, heart disease, men's health, women's health, children's health, GI disorders, autoimmune disorders, Alzheimer's. Very, very comprehensive approach, musculoskeletal health, mental health, very comprehensive. So health professionals get a lot out of it, get a different view of how many of these conditions can be handled, and also consumers are welcome to take it. So if those things interest you, send me an email at pampopper@msn.com. All right, last topic for today. Lots of conversation about artificial intelligence, and I have had some emails forwarded or videos forwarded to me from some viewers or readers of my newsletter who are concerned about how much artificial intelligence is going to become involved in medicine. I think there's no question that there's going to be some, but it doesn't appear that it's going to take over medicine anytime soon. A new study shows that a large language model chatbot delivered an incorrect diagnosis for 83 out of 100 pediatric cases submitted to it. So you heard that right, 83% inaccuracy rate. I was doing some looking online to see if this was an outlier or if it usually works. It just didn't in this study. But the best I could find is a prior study showing that artificial intelligence did better, but the accuracy rate was only 39%. So what does this mean for all of us? Well, apparently we're going to need live human doctors for at least the foreseeable future. And I hope forever, because I don't think there's any substitute for the judgment of a seasoned practitioner, particularly when that practitioner knows the patient and has an adequate amount of time to spend with that person. And that's why we need an independent healthcare system. We have to restore the patient-doctor relationship with all of the privacy and judgment and care and concern and safe healthcare that results from it. So once again, we have workshops coming up for consumers. We have workshops coming up for health professionals. These are designed to help you understand more how you can participate in a better system that leads to all this good stuff that I just described. So I hope that you like our new format. I will be covering more than one topic in the Tuesday videos, so you'll often see like health news from Pam instead of, trying to fill an entire video with one topic. I can cover more topics that way and more ground. And do welcome your questions and your disagreement, even whatever. And It's great to be back to regular programming, and I think we're going about it in a little more organized, sustainable way than we have for the last few years. I hope you like our new format. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think might enjoy watching it, and I'll be back to you next week on Tuesday with more health news, but do watch for other emails with content if you subscribe to all of our materials. That's all for today, and have a great one. Thank you so much for watching.